Good morning, welcome back to Smoothers Backyard, and a bit of an update on Elsie, the 200 series Land Cruiser. Woody's keen to go for a drive, but he doesn't know we're not going anywhere. No, we're not. What? Anyway, I just wanted to give an update because, wow, there's a couple of things. But anyway, one is, last episode I did the Raptor coating on the flares, which went really well. I was really pleased with that. They look really good. I wanted to readjust the right front flare, because it sat just probably almost an inch lower than the other side, and I didn't want to lose any of that look in the height, of having less gap between the top of the wheel and the wheel arch, because I think the Land Cruisers sit a bit too like nose down anyway, so to lose a bit of wheel arch would exaggerate that effect. So I wanted the wheel flares to be right up in that arch, and to achieve that, I needed to do a little cutout around the snorkel, the base of the snorkel, and yeah, I got it wrong. I gave it a good Aussie crack, and yeah, totally stuffed it up, but that's all right. It can be fixed. We have the technology. I'll show you. Yeah, there's the snorkel, comes down and meets the the flare. So yeah, I totally misjudged this line here and cut it too low, and now it looks really bad now because I've gone and scuffed it up all around there to start the repair. But this bit here, that wasn't a mistake. I actually once I'd made that mistake, I thought, you know what, this bolt hole, which is one of these recesses, that bolt's going to interfere with the bottom of the snorkel as well, so I've just cut that out, and that's all going to be part of the repair. So yeah, I've just caused myself a little bit more work, but I think I needed to get rid of that bolt hole anyway, so probably in the end and in the long run I would have had to have done some body work on this flare. So all in all, I guess it's just part of the process. But at the same time as doing I think I mentioned in the last episode, I was doing the Raptor coat on the flares, and I said that I'd had a phone call to say my bull bar was in, which was really exciting news. And I gave a hint that maybe wheels were coming soon, and both things have happened. Now, that's pretty exciting news for me, because I've been hanging out for these things for months and months. I think the bull bar took 6 months to come from, I don't know where. Did they have to like go and mine the iron ore to make the steel? I'm not sure. And the wheels, they took about 3 months from the time I ordered them. I think because they were a brand new line, and they probably had a bit of a rush on orders, but they are a brand new model of wheel for ROH. So anyway, I want to give you a bit of a reveal, and have a look at the bull bar, the winch, and the wheels, and the stories that go with that. Woody's just chilling. Now, you have to forgive me because the car is dirty. I haven't washed it. It's done a few trips to work, but we're going to show you. Ooh, look, there's the top of the wheel. That is a Nitto Ridge Grappler, almost 35 inch on an ROH Assault with the grey middle section. What do they call it? Not pewter, one of those colours. Anyway, it's black with the silver grey. That's the rear. There's the front one with the dodgy up flare. And a bull bar, yes. It's the ARB Sahara bar, and it's been fitted with a Runva 11XP winch. Yeah, so in this video I do want to get into the repair of this. That's something I want to just you know, briefly touch on what I'm going to do to fix that. But I think I want to get a few things off my chest about the install, namely of the bull bar and the winch. So strap yourselves in for a little bit of a ride as I go through the list. So this is where I'm up to with the flare repair. I've cut a couple of pieces of aluminium strip, 3mm thick, and I've marked out with this piece on there like that, marked around that. I'm going to cut that section out so that'll sit flush in behind, in flush with the line of the flare, and this piece will go in behind like that, and I'll clamp it all together. There it is, glued up. Two strips of aluminium plate. I used a bit of epoxy adhesive, just some Araldite, and that's the backing plate. That's the front plate to make it flush. There it is, you can see the glue spewing out there. I'll sand that off. I'll go over that with some body filler, bit of bog, and sand that down, maybe a little bit of spray putty, I don't know, and it probably doesn't need it. That Raptor coat covers a multitude of sins, so just some bog, a bit of primer and some Raptor coat, and we should be back in action. Right, we've got some bog on there. We'll let that go off and come back and sand that, but in the meantime, as promised, I want to share the things that have made me not so happy about this bull bar and winch installation, and yeah, I'll take you through them. So I turn up at the 4-wheel drive centre that I had the work done at, and I chose to purchase the winch and the bull bar and the winch through them and have them install it, because it's a big job, you know, they're heavy, it's a big bulky item, and there's no way I was going to do that by myself. And so, you know, I forked out a whole lot of money for installation on top of the purchase price of, you know, a new bar and a new winch. So you know, I thought, just pay the professionals, just get it done and just bear the cost. So that's what I decided to do, and I was happy with that decision until I went to pick it up. So the first thing I noticed was my Redarc Manager 30 battery monitor was beeping its head off when I got to the car. And so 2 days earlier, the workshop had informed me that the car had a flat battery. The second day they had it had gone flat overnight, and they had it on charge, and we didn't know why. And even when I got there to pick it up, they still didn't know why the battery had gone flat, but it was charged now. And I thought, well, maybe the Redarc is, you know, just needs resetting because it's had a flat battery, flat cranking battery. I wasn't sure if it should have reset itself, because the auxiliary battery should have still been fully charged and powering up the Redarc. But I don't know, maybe I just thought maybe that's just why, you know, could be just a reason. We had a flat battery, it just needs to be reset. So I went around to the Manager 30 and went through the process of it, and it had to be all reset. It was, it had to have the time, date, battery type, all of that needed resetting. So I thought, oh, that'll be it. But I got through that process to a point in the process where it said no battery sensor was detected, and I thought, gee. So I got under the bonnet and I popped the bonnet. First thing I noticed was that the wiring on my auxiliary battery, which I thought they didn't need to touch whatsoever, was all wrong. Like, it was not how I had it. I've done an install video on this battery, and I haven't put that up yet, but as you see it now is how I installed it, because I've rectified it. But all these wires were just all over the place, like hanging out into the engine bay, and they were coming across the battery here. I thought, I didn't leave it like that. And so I asked the manager of the business, did you have any reason to touch the auxiliary battery? He said, no, we shouldn't have. He said, there's no reason to touch that at all. And I said, that's what I thought, but my red arc's going off and it's telling me the battery sensor is not being found. So I said, well, leave that one with me, I'll try and figure it out. So that was the first thing I noticed. Then I thought, I'll come and have a look over here at the main battery. I thought, oh yeah, there's the winch positive cable, fair bit of extra cable on it, but that's all right. And I went to take this off to have a look at how their workmanship, and thought, gee, that's floppy. And then I turned it around and it's floppy because look at that hack job. They've cut the back out of it for the cable to go through, but just with a pair of tin snips or something, and then just cracked it off at the top. And so now it has no structural integrity, so it just, all that holds it on is this one little post there that goes on top of here, and that's it. So I mean, they were never a great design in the first place from Toyota, I must admit, but that now that's loose and floppy, and that is atrocious workmanship, really, to be honest. That is just a hack job. So I wasn't happy about that. Didn't say anything to the manager at the time. I just thought, if that's everything, I just won't come back. I won't come back for work to get more work done after seeing that. So yeah, there was some fiddling around over there that had gone on that shouldn't have, and then there was that hack job. I thought, oh, that's not very good, but let me have a look at the rest of it. Next thing I notice, I come down, I've got the manager there, telling me he's going to fix it. Next thing I noticed was all these leads in here were just laying out willy-nilly, and they're still not good, but they were just laying all over the winch and on rub points. There were no cable ties on them. He promptly ran and got some cable ties and tied them up for me. So, okay, I'll fix them up better myself later, but that'll do for now. I had asked if they could try and position the control box in behind the grill, because there's a fair bit of room back there, but they didn't even attempt that whatsoever. Didn't give it any consideration. They just said, no, that's where it goes. Okay. And then while he was off getting some cable ties, I thought I'd have a look at the winch hook and fair lead and how. So I went to flip up the number plate, because I was pretty sure that this bull bar comes with a flip up bracket for your number plate so you can get to your winch, right? No, wrong. Well, I'm still not sure if I'm wrong, but they just bolted my number plate straight onto the bull bar, covering up the access to the winch hook and the winch fair lead. So I've mentioned that to the manager of the business, and he was quite surprised to see that. I said, how would I operate the winch with the number plate just bolted on? And if it was or wasn't supposed to come with the flip up mechanism, well, surely you wouldn't just go ahead and bolt it on without saying, oh, we've got a problem here. So I was just a bit perplexed about that. Like, who would just bolt that on and go, well, you know, the owner can just sort that out later. You would tell someone, wouldn't you? You'd bring up and say, hey, we didn't realise it doesn't have a flip-up bracket. Do you want us to order one? Or I'd be saying, didn't it come with one? Because I thought it did. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. So that was the next little surprise that I found. So by this stage, I'm thinking, holy crap, what sort of installation job have they done elsewhere? You know, like have they actually installed the bull bar properly? Like, are the bolts done up with a torque wrench? Are the clearances and tolerances all good? I don't know. I don't know what they've done now, because they've done a lot of dodgy things so far. So I was booked in that morning for a service on Elsie, so it was, you know, in a different town. I got the work done one town away from where I am, and I had to have the car back here in Lismore to have it serviced by mid-morning. So I thought, well, that's all I've found so far. I'll deal with those things, and I'll deal with the company that did it, you know, in time. But I had to get the car back home for its scheduled service that was booked in for. So I'm driving on the way home. I'm thinking, I didn't see the winch isolation switch, and I was pretty sure of the research that I did on the Runva 11XP or any Runva winch I've seen, that they have an isolation switch. So I took it in, had the whole morning, or probably mid-afternoon, until I got the car back from being serviced, thinking over all these things. And I thought, so I've got in touch with Runva. Runva were great. They got back to me straight away. They said definitely should have an isolation switch. We supply one with every winch. So there was another thing. Yeah, so I had a look in there. There's not one to be found anywhere. It's just not there. So that was the next thing I discovered. No isolation switch. So now we're up to about four or five different things. So my battery manager 30 is still beeping its head off, saying there's no battery sensor found, and I'm thinking this battery sensor here, which is on the negative side. So I start looking over this a bit more, and all these wires, like I said, they were just everywhere. So I thought I'll tidy that up back to how it was. Like, it had every single wire just coming out across the top of the battery, and one looped out over here somewhere, and that's just not how I left it. So I undid this, tidied it all up, went to put them back on, and I thought, hang on a sec, there should be the red, you know, the positive side to this battery sensor should be connected here somewhere, and it wasn't there. I couldn't see it. I took a photo actually of how I'll put it up on the screen now. I took a photo of how I found it from the four-wheel drive centre that had been not even supposed to be touching this auxiliary battery at all. So that was missing, and then so I went to put it. I found it. I traced this cord, and it's just dangling down there in the engine bay, not too far from the fan and the pulleys and everything else, or even long enough to skip down onto the road if it fell far enough. But yeah, I pulled it up and it was still there. So I've tried to reconnect it all, and I noticed the bolt wasn't long enough to, you know, with its washer, it wasn't long enough to actually hold everything. I thought, that's odd. That all held there before with that, you know, and I thought, what's on here? So what I found was this negative cable here, which joins to the negative terminal on this side of the battery sensor of the red arc. It was actually on the positive terminal. They had taken it off here and put it on there. They'd left this off, and I just could not believe how dodgy someone could be to do that. It was just incredibly negligent. And why the hell were they playing with my auxiliary battery system in the first place? At best, you might take off the negative so it doesn't short anything out, and while you're doing stuff on the other side, at best. But this really doesn't relate to what they were doing over there. They should not have needed to touch anything on this battery at all. So they've obviously taken everything off, put everything back on wrong. And like, you would think, okay, if you're going to put a negative cable, even accidentally, back onto your positive terminal, that would arc and spark and you'd notice straight away. But luckily, just luckily, this cable is a dedicated cable that runs back to an Anderson plug at the back of the car that plugs into my trailer. It doesn't actually earth out on the vehicle chassis at all unless the trailer's hooked up. Right, so if I had have come home and hooked my trailer up, I would have had positive, this negative cable would have been hooked to the positive battery of on the trailer. So I've got two of these batteries, one's in the trailer, one's in here. The Redarc Manager 30 manages both of them when I hook them all together. This negative cable would have been direct. I would have plugged my Anderson plug in and plugged my negative to my positive if I hadn't noticed and that was still sitting like that. If that hadn't been left off either by accident or on purpose, I don't know, and was warning me that something was wrong, I would not have found that that negative cable was attached to the positive, and I could have destroyed both batteries by doing that. You know, I wouldn't have noticed for a while until smoke started coming out of it, you know, like how dodgy, how negligent. It could be even worse than negligent. How was this even a deliberate act? I wonder, because there's more to the story. And this here looks a bit dodgy too now, because I don't know if he'd taken that off, but that has a screw nut in it like that normally, and it was stripped out. So I went to tighten it up a little bit and it just kept turning, and thought, well, that's been messed with as well. So I've got a new screw for it, but I just haven't put it in yet. So, you know, I've had to do all this figuring out, fixing, running around, talking to Runva. I've actually been talking to ARB as well. So that's not the end of it, but you know, up to this point, I've had to do a lot of figuring out what was wrong, why it was wrong, discovering that it could have been catastrophically wrong. Luckily, I found it in time and it wasn't. You know, I've had to spend time emailing Runva. I've spent time on the phone to ARB to figure out whether I'm supposed to get the swing up bracket for the number plate or not. That's still in debate whether that should come with it or not. That's okay. Look, if it wasn't part of the standard package, I would have been happy to you know, buy the kit, but it was never optioned or offered to me as an option. And who just bolts number plate on and thinks, oh well, that'll do? No. Subsequently, I found a couple of other little things as well. So yeah, I've had to spend a whole lot of time and effort and energy in worrying and figuring out what's wrong with all of this, and still worrying if there's more to find. And I paid like an extra 700 and whatever it was, $750 odd for the installation side of, you know, the winch and the bull bar. That included wiring up fog lights, indicators and parker lights in the bull bar. So there's a whole new fog light kit in there. I've looked at over the wiring and that it works. Not how I would have done it. I can't say that it's faulty, but it's not very neat. But okay, it's all there and it works. And so the fog light kit, it's probably, I'll probably just leave that how it is, because it's okay. It's not great. It's okay. Yeah. What do I do next? Like, I've taken all of these concerns plus one other that I found that I haven't mentioned to them yet. look, the fella who owns the business was quite mortified. He's only recently taken the business over, and to cut to the chase with that story, it looks like I've been the victim of some sort of vengeance or some sort of payback, I don't know, between him and one of his staff. Because after I got in touch with him about all of these problems, the extra problems I found after I got home, he said, oh, look, to be honest with you, the guy that did your install, I had to let him go yesterday, right? The day before I picked my car up. So he's done all the work. Obviously there was ongoing disagreements between him and the new owner, and so for whatever, you know, he's been taking his frustrations out, or even been deliberately negligent and taking it out on him, but using my vehicle, my personal private vehicle that I run my family around in, and basically done things that are unsafe. You know, I've got a winch that's supposed to have an isolator switch, so it's not there. So anytime, for whatever reason, that winch could get activated, you know, we had a fire hazard, and massive amounts of monetary damage could have been done to the dual auxiliary battery system. They're lithium batteries. Those batteries are worth $800 each. They're not cheap. Not to mention that, you know, all the other electrical components in between, the Manager 30, there's a couple of $1,000. You know, there's all the wiring. It could have caught fire. Who would have paid for that, you know? Just that, you know, things like the hack job on that positive terminal cover, that, what sort of professional mechanic would do it that bad? Like, I could have done 1,000 times better job than that. It just, even with a pair of tin snips, I could have done a better job than that. I wouldn't have used a pair of tin snips. I would have used, you know, a little Dremel, or a little die grinder or something, just to make a nice little arch for that cable to go through, and it would have kept some of that structural integrity. I know I'm going on about a piece of plastic, but really, it's just not good. It's just not good workmanship. Yeah, there's just so much. All right, so we're down here at the winch opening, you know, the fair lead, where the winch hook is. Let's just run a bit of it out. I think the winch itself, I was trying to get it to the cable, there we go, without the protector over it. Winch itself seems to be fine. So I wanted to make sure it worked, so I took my number plate off, you know, I had to unscrew it, which I've done again just now so I can show you. You know, I wanted to make sure bolts and things were done up tight, and I get down on my knees, just luckily get right down, because you've got to get way down because you can't see. And I've noticed the winch fair lead opening, it's supposed to be clear of any part of the bull bar or the chassis, but you can see right here, that's the top edge of the bull bar hole opening for the winch, right? That's where that's supposed to be there, but the fair lead should have been in these holes. This needs to drop down a good inch, so this rope can never rub on that sharp edge. It's supposed to run on these smooth edges, right? Not this bit of steel. That bit of steel shouldn't be protruding into this opening. So these bolts should be through these holes. It's just like, an idiot could have done a better job than this. This guy's beyond being an idiot. I don't know who he was or how long he worked at that company. I know the company recently changed hands. I knew the previous owners, they'd done work for me before. But what sort of fool thinks that's okay, or just goes, I don't care, right? I'm just going to whack it together however and call the job done. That's not done. That's negligent. That'll wear that winch cable out prematurely if it runs high. Like if you're pulling upwards, say, and it rubs on here, it's going to wear that winch cable out, potentially causing a danger. You know, I'll just bolt the number plate back on. As if nobody's going to notice that. How do I get to my winch hook? How do I get to my winch cable if there's a number plate bolted in front of it? You can tell I'm quite annoyed and exasperated by it, because what else has he not done? You know, what other dodgy practices has it had? There's a whole bunch of installation process that goes on behind that bull bar. All the mounting brackets, all the, there's certain clearances and safety adjustments for airbag deployment. Like ARB put a lot of R&D into making sure their products are airbag compliant, right? So they expect their installers to install them properly and have done a good job. So if in the event of a collision at the front, the winch is going to protect you a bit, but not the winch, the bull bar. The bull bar is going to protect you a bit, but it's still going to deploy the airbags if necessary. So there's safety concerns, So I've spoken to ARB about this, and look, they've been really good. They were, I rang somewhere and ended up talking to some lovely lady in Victoria who said, I'll have to put you on to the Queensland headquarters, because I'm closer to there. I'm not in Queensland, but I'm only 2 hours from Brisbane. So there was a fella, Swifty, who rang me from ARB in Brisbane. He was excellent. He was even surprised that this company that I have had this bull bar installed by have been able to acquire it to install it, because he said they're not an ARB dealer. So they obviously have to source these bull bars through ARB somewhere else and have them, they sort of, I didn't know this, but they do it as a secondary type installation. Like they have to buy it from a ARB dealer to get it to their workshop to fit it. I wasn't aware of that. I thought they had ARB dealership rights, and why would I think any different? I ask if they can sell and fit an ARB bull bar. They say, yep, no problem. Well, then I believe that that they're doing it all by the book. But I don't know if them doing it is by the book or not, but they obviously haven't fitted it by the book, that's for sure. So look, even this sticker is crooked. I don't know if that's come from the factory like that, or whether this four-wheel drive centre that I'm not going to name, whether they put that on, I don't know. I imagine it comes from the factory, but why is it crooked? That's just another annoying thing. Just little things, Anyway. So it's booked to go back in, and it's going back to the same place. So do I trust that they're going to, the guy that owns the place, he, like I said, he's only just taken it over a few months back. He generally sounds mortified that the workmanship's been done like this. I would too, because it's, it's his business, it's his name. Am I likely to go back and shop there? No way. But he's promised me that he'll get his team, albeit someone new, I guess, because he had to sack the other guy, to go over it. Sorry about the wobbly camera, my arm's getting tired. Yeah, so he's going to go over it, bolt by bolt, hopefully. I think I might hang around for that. I'm going to stay there and be on the case all day. But that's another whole day that I have to spend dealing with this problem that I've already paid $700 and something to have professionally installed, and now I have to do another whole day on top of what I've already done to troubleshoot the things I've found, you know, really, do they owe me some of that install feedback? I would imagine I would. If I was him, I'd be offering it, and I probably will ask, to be honest, because it's definitely been to my detriment and a big hassle to me to have to get all this sorted out. Look, I've got the bull bar, that's good. I don't really want to let all this rain on my parade and be a downer, because I'm having a lot of fun building this vehicle. It's starting to come together the way I want it, get the look that I wanted, the functionality that I want once it all functions. And yeah, I'm really enjoying being the owner of a 200 series Land Cruiser that we call Elsie. Really fond of it. It's a great car, and yeah, I really want it to be a fun process, not be marred by this. So I'm not going to be angry about it. I'm just going to get it all put right and carry on regardless. So that's the repair on the cutout for the snorkel. Not complete, but temporarily installed. I'm going to have to get some Raptor out and blow that in and just blend it over the top of the undercoat that I've done there. Not sure about this rubber. This is the rubber off the flare kit. It doesn't quite fit around this corner, so I might have to come up with another idea there. But overall, it blends in pretty good, so not too bad. It'll look much better once the Raptor coat goes on. Here's the left hand front flare installed with the rubber on. It all looks really neat. It looks really neatens it up greatly with the Raptor coat, the rubber. Now I've got the wheels on. It looks really, really good. Well, it's a couple of days later now. I didn't get around to finishing off the video for you all the other day, but I did today get some Raptor coat on the chrome alloy bar loop on the bull bar there. I'll show you that in a minute. Also, I got to finish off the cutout for the snorkel in the, what do you call it, the flare. Words, they escape me sometimes. So yeah, I patched that in and I've filled it and hit it with some Raptor coat. I'm not sure, I might use a bit of pinch weld, I haven't decided yet. Yeah, I've got some of this rubber. I tried that in there, but it sort of kinks up in this corner. It doesn't like the acute bend there. So some pinch weld, this stuff here, might look all right just to line that. I could leave it just like that with a gap. Maybe if I was to do it again, if I was going to leave it like that, I'd maybe make the gap smaller. So I think I do want to put something in there, probably the pinch weld, I'm thinking at this stage. So yeah, when I picked up the bar, I just got it standard and it came with a polished alloy hoop, and I could have had it color coded for an extra $330, and I thought, you know what, I think I'll just hit it with some Raptor coat when I do the wheel arches, and I think it looks alright. A professional painter probably would have done a better job, but it's not bad, you know, it looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll have to get some driving lights, spotlights. They'll be on the shopping list very soon. You know, overall, like, I've had a bit of a, you know, poor experience with the fitting of the bull bar and the winch, but everything there is fixable. It's all going to get sorted out one way or another. I've got to say, I've been in touch with ARB about how things have unfolded. ARB didn't fit this. This was another four-wheel drive centre that did that. It is an ARB bar. They're well aware now of what's going on there, and they've been in touch, and they've just been excellent. Even the local ARB distributor here in Lismore has been in touch, and they're trying to sort things out for me. In particular, getting a swing up number plate holder. That's just got to happen one way or another. But overall, I'm really pleased with the way Elsie's coming out. I'll try and get some vision of it driving along, and it looks pretty cool with the wheels and the flares and the bar. The bar is not color coded to the car, believe it or not. It is a standard ARB colour that is almost identical to the colour of the Land Cruiser, so that was pretty fortunate. I didn't have to pay extra to have the bar colour coded. So just a bit of an update on Elsie and the bull bar and winch installation story. I just got back today from the place that did the initial installation, and they booked me in to have a full going over of all the work that had been done, because obviously some dodgy shenanigans had gone on. I found out a little bit more about the mechanic or the technician or whatever he was that they had do the work. Apparently he started with them on the Monday. That was the day my car went in, and he was no longer with them on the Thursday. So I guess I was unlucky. I guess that's what it comes down to. So yeah, they've gone over it and fixed up everything they could to my satisfaction, I guess. It still leaves a bit of a bitter taste, you know, like that the job wasn't done properly in the first place, and nobody was looking over the shoulder of this new guy. I mean, wouldn't you be checking his work? I don't know. Anyway, so they did a few things. So yeah, they put the swivel up number plate holder on, which is good. I'm happy with that. I mean, it's not the same as the current model ones, but then I haven't got a current model car, and so the bull bar's a bit different. So that's the one you get, and that's fine. They repositioned the fair lead into the right spot. So if you remember, it had metal of the bull bar hanging down a third of the way into the fair lead there. So that's been relocated. Apparently they went over all of the nuts and bolts of the job. They've installed the winch isolation switch, which is fantastic. I think that goes in there like that. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, that can now be turned on, and well, there's on and there's off and there's key out. So we went over where to put that, and that was a place I found and I thought would be the best, and it does seem to work pretty good there. So I'm happy with that. And they also put a conduit, black split conduit over the positive and ground earth wire from the winch to the battery, and they've done that all the way from the battery down to the winch. They didn't go as far as doing all the coloured cables in here, which I may still do later on, but at least they did the ones that run up through the grill to the battery, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. In the meantime, so it was about 3.5 weeks since I had the work done, and if you remember, this got all rewired up. I figured out why he had this battery out. I initially thought he didn't need to touch it, but he did probably need to take that out to get to the parking lights. You need to basically join these parkers need to be spliced into the parkers that are in here. So he probably took that out. So I'm guessing he's just taken it out and he's put it back in, but just totally wired it up wrong. And I mentioned that he had this negative cable over on the positive, and he'd left this battery sensor just dangling in the engine bay. So subsequently, in between having the initial work done and since I've taken it back today, I moved the battery sensor, which was here. I actually relocated it down into the grill here, just in behind here, because it was getting too hot there, and the Manager 30 would alarm whenever the engine bay got a bit too hot, over 65 degrees Celsius. It would alarm, and that was annoying. So I basically ran an extension on the earth wire there down into the front of the grill here. I can't show you because the cover's back on, but basically I bolted it inside the grill under this plastic, and it's going to stay much cooler there. As a gesture of good faith, I believe, the owner did go and buy me a new, because I made such a fuss about it, a new cover for that positive terminal on the battery. So I elected to just take it home as it is, and I will do the cutout in the back of it. So that's the comparison of what was there and what I ended up with after that job. Yeah, so I'll do actually it comes out the side now, so I'll probably just do a little cutout on the side for that positive cable that runs to the winch. So yeah, I'm happy enough with the work they've done now. Still probably won't use them again just because of the experience that I've had. But I guess new owners, it's a trying time for any business, and I'm happy with the work they've done today. So that's all I can say about that. Next up, I think I'm just gonna here between the bull bar and the flare. So we ended up with this gap here, and I knew that something like that would happen with the flares, because they come in two pieces, and you've got the bit that comes down on the original front guard. Once you put the bull bar on, you're not sure where that's going to end and finish. So I'm going to do a little bit of modifying on the original piece of flare and see if I can cut a bit off to that length, but then also taper it off. So that's going to take a little bit of plastic ingenuity, I think, a bit of engineering going on with the plastic flare. So I'll see how that goes. So yeah, a bit rainy out today, but there she is. Bull bars on, winches in, wheels are on, flares are on, except for those little extensions. There's my little cutout where I had my mishap. But yeah, overall I think it's looking pretty good. Next up, I think it's going to be the rear bar. I've got that on order, so that's probably not going to get here until January, so that's a couple of months away. So yeah, maybe some rear drawers, fridge slide, more things to come. I'd love to put some diff locks in it eventually. Yeah, a few more mods along the way. But yep, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Click like, subscribe and share and all those things. It's coming along. I'm really happy with the progress, and we'll see you next time.